In 2026, Formula One doesn't just get new cars and new engines, it gets a new skill. Because for the first time in modern F1, the fastest driver won't simply be the one who brakes the latest or carries the most speed mid-corner. It'll be the one who can manage an entire lap like a chess match. Battery deployment, harvesting windows, active aero switching, overtaking boosts. These aren't side systems anymore, they're the lap. And here's the twist. In 2026, the rules are basically forcing every driver to become their own race engineer, every single lap, while fighting wheel to wheel at 300 kilometers per hour. Because the entire 2026 package is built around one giant idea. Power is no longer always on. It comes in waves. It comes in choices. It comes in trade-offs. And the teams that master those trade-offs will look unstoppable, while everyone else will look like they're driving with the handbrake on. So let's break down what lap management actually becomes in 2026 and why it might create the most aggressive, tactical racing Formula One has seen in years. The old lap was mostly about one thing: maintaining momentum. In the current era, lap management exists, but it's often invisible. Drivers lift and coast to hit fuel targets. They manage tyre temperatures. They aim for DRS zones when the car ahead is within range. They choose deployment modes. But underneath all of that, the car is still designed to deliver a fairly consistent performance profile across the lap. In 2026, that idea gets ripped apart because the power unit changes are not subtle. The hybrid system is no longer a small performance layer on top of the engine, it becomes half of the performance. Formula One has leaned into a near-even split between internal combustion and electrical power, and that alone forces a different style of driving and a different style of thinking. Now add active aerodynamics into the mix. They're not just a speed gimmick anymore, they're part of the lap management loop. You're no longer only thinking about throttle, brake, steering and tyres. You're thinking about wing states, drag states, harvesting opportunities, deploy opportunities, and how all of that interacts with the cars around you. That's why 2026 lap management isn't lift a bit here, save a bit there. It's build the lap, spend the lap, rebuild the lap, attack with the lap, defend with the lap. The battery becomes the lap. The 2026 rules massively increase the electrical power available from the ERSK, up to 350 kilowatts. That's not a small upgrade. That's a fundamental shift in what full power even means in Formula One. So what happens when electric power matters that much? It means there will be moments, especially on certain circuits, where the car is brutally quick when it's deploying and noticeably less so when it's not. This is where the speed chess feeling comes from. You're deciding when to be unstoppable and when to be patient. And the biggest misconception people have is that this becomes a boring save energy era. No, it becomes the opposite. Because when electrical power is this strong, deploying it at the right time becomes decisive. It's the modern equivalent of choosing the perfect moment to send it down the inside. Except now, the send is powered by timing, not bravery. And that's where the new language matters. Because Formula One is literally renaming these systems to reflect what drivers are doing in real time. The new buttons that actually matter: boost, overtake, active aero, recharge. For 2026, F1 introduces clearer terminology that maps directly onto driver decisions. Recharge is exactly what it sounds like, harvesting energy not only under braking, but through lift phases and recovery windows across the lap. It's not just brake hard, harvest hard, it's harvest smart. Boost is the driver saying, I want maximum combined output right now. Attack or defend anywhere on the track instantly. And overtake mode replaces the old DRS logic. It's a proximity-based tool that gives a chasing driver extra performance when they're close enough to actually fight. That alone changes the mental model for an overtake, because the question stops being, can I get DRS on this straight, and becomes, can I build the energy and aero state I need to attack this lap and still have enough left to defend the next one. Active aero turns every straight into a decision. This is the part people underestimate: active aerodynamics. The 2026 cars use movable wing elements, not just a rear flap, creating two primary configurations. One prioritizes grip and corner performance. The other prioritizes low drag and straight line efficiency. And this matters because now you're not just managing energy, you're managing drag. If you're in a low drag state, you're faster on the straight, but the car may arrive at braking zones in a very different aero posture. The wing states aren't just open for overtake anymore. They're baked into how the car is meant to run an entire lap efficiently. So a 2026 lap might look like this. You enter a corner-heavy section in high grip mode. You harvest where you can, under braking and through subtle lifts. Then you exit the final corner onto the straight. You shift to low drag. Now the question becomes, do you deploy battery here, or do you harvest slightly because you're planning a bigger hit later? That is constant decision-making, and that leads to the most important change of all. In 2026, drivers build overtakes over multiple corners. In modern F1, overtakes are often short form. Close the gap, get DRS, send it. In 2026, a driver may have to construct an overtake like a sequence, because when deployment and aero states are tactical tools, the pass often depends on who arrives at the straight with the better lap state. Meaning, if you burned too much energy defending 2 corners ago, you might be exposed now. If you harvested brilliantly through a complex, you might attack with a massive shove at the worst possible moment for the car ahead. If you used boost to defend once, you may not have enough left to attack later. So overtaking becomes less like a single punch and more like a combination. That's why lap management becomes racing. Fuel becomes a hidden variable. And then there's fuel, but not the way people usually think. 2026 introduces advanced sustainable fuels and shifts regulations toward energy content, not just raw quantity. That doesn't mean fuel saving becomes the show. It means efficiency becomes another performance lever. So now a team's lap management picture includes how quickly can we harvest, how aggressively can we deploy, how efficiently can we convert fuel energy into performance? How well do we blend the engine and electric without being exposed at the wrong moment? Because if your engine side is strong, but your deployment profile is weak, you might look fast in clean air and helpless in a fight. The racing meta changes, defending gets harder. Here's the nightmare scenario in 2026. You defend too hard. You hit boost. You deploy. You keep the car behind. But in doing so, you destroy your energy state for the next lap. Now you're not defending one attempt, you're defending a sequence, because the attacker can see what's coming. That's why the best defenders won't be the ones who always hit the button first. They'll be the ones who fake weakness, force the attacker to spend early, and then counterattack when the balance flips. It becomes a rhythm game. And this is where drivers with elite feel, timing, grip, momentum can turn into monsters. Because they're not just managing their car anymore, they're managing the opponent's decisions. Qualifying might get wilder. Lap management doesn't only matter in races. In qualifying, where everything comes down to one lap, 2026 could create a new definition of perfection. A lap where you decide exactly where to deploy everything and exactly where you can afford to recharge without losing time. If energy allowances vary by circuit profile, then one lap pace becomes less universal. Monaco, Monza, somewhere in between. Each one demands a different rhythm. In other words, the lap becomes a crafted object, and whoever crafts it best will look untouchable. So, why is this an insane upgrade? Because for years, fans have argued about what makes Formula One great. Raw speed, wheel-to-wheel racing, strategy. 2026 doesn't choose one, it fuses them. You get cars designed to race closer. You get active aero that forces decisions. You get power units that demand tactical deployment. And you get a driver skill layer that isn't just push harder, it's push smarter every lap. If it works the way it's intended, we don't just get closer racing. We get racing where the driver's brain is visible. You'll see attacks being built. You'll see deployments being baited. You'll see drivers running out of options. That's storytelling on track. The bottom line, 2026 makes the lap a weapon. So when you hear lap management in 2026, don't think fuel saving, don't think boring. Think of it like this. In 2026, the lap isn't something you survive until the straight. The lap is something you weaponize. You harvest to hunt. You deploy to strike. You switch aero to choose your battles. You spend energy to defend, and you pay for it later. And the best drivers? They won't just drive fast. They'll drive inevitable. Because the real upgrade in 2026 isn't one part. It's the fact that Formula One is turning a lap into a living strategy game and putting the controller back in the driver's hands. And that's why 2026 racing just got an insane upgrade.